Hello, happy free agent frenzy day. Not too busy of a day for the Penguins, though they did make a few moves. I'll get to that a little later on in this episode. But to start out today, we're going to obviously touch on the Evgeni Malkin contract, what it means for the Penguins moving forward, the fact that all three are going to retire as members of the Penguins, get into all that, seeing the milestones, potentially one more cup run, what it means for the short and long term. Then we'll get into the moves from today, especially with Jan Rutta from the Tampa Bay Lightning, a 3-year deal, meaning another defenseman is probably going to have to be going out the door. Also get to a couple of the depth pieces the Penguins added today, and also talk about a potential ad that could be coming, though it hasn't really been confirmed outside of one Elliot Friedman tweet. I'm not really sure if it's happening at this point. So without further ado, let's get right on into it.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Check to Chartable for the first time in a while. And the podcast right now, it's top 25 in the country. I think for the first time since the season ended. So I can't thank all of you new or everyday listeners for tuning in to me blabbering about this team. We have a lot to get into for today's show, but let's start out. So last night, 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm, playing with a couple buddies on Xbox. Well, on I record on my PC and I play video games on my PC. And, someone texted me like Gino signed. I'm like, no, he didn't. He's going to go to Mark. And, sure enough, I got the notification from a couple insiders and I was like, wow. That came out of nowhere. And of course, it comes hours after I have the episode with Josh Yohe where we're both like, yeah, he's probably not going to re-sign. Well, he made both of us look like fools on that one, but it's a done deal. 4 years, $6.1 million per. I had my reaction on my Twitter page, about a 2-minute, 20-second video. But for those that didn't see it, I'll, obviously give my thoughts here. Very good deal, I think, for both the team. And Evgeni Malkin, gets the pay cut that, he talked about, that he didn't really care about money. He also gets the 4th year that he wanted. So both sides, I think, were able to meet in the middle after a very long but grueling negotiating process. The fact that, Chris Letang and Evgeni Malkin are locked up for only $12.4 million for the rest of their careers, that is a job well done by Ron Hextall. You throw in Sidney Crosby in there. See, that's 20.4. So that's about a little over 21 million of the salary cap towards your big three players for the rest of their careers. That's a big W. And, you bring back Rickard Rakell and you also bring back Brian Rust. So those 4 signings, that's about a combined 22 million of the cap. I will also tip my cap to Ron Hextall on that. I'm still not as big of a fan on the Rakell contract, though I'm warming up to it a little bit now that Gino is back. But, I think, I'm going to walk back my take of, he needs to go to the gulag and stuff. I will not take any further questions at this time. But, that's some good business by the GM. I will say I will give credit where it is due, even though, he's made some questionable decisions at times for this team. But, I can't be more thrilled that Malkin is back. He helps definitely in the short term. He was their best option at that 2C spot. I will repeat that until, the day I am 6 feet under. He was easily their best option. Look at some of the contracts that you all saw today. Andrew Kopp, 5 times 5.6, only $500K cheaper. Vince Trocheck went for 7 times 5.6. I think everyone would have been pissed if the Penguins would have given Trocheck that kind of contract. So, at the end of the day, those contracts were only $500K cheaper than the Malkin one, but Malkin is the better player. He's going to continue to be the better player in the short term. And I really think the Penguins did a nice job with this. And, a lot of times, sports fans, I don't think everyone gets what they want with their teams. But, for the first time, I think most Penguins fans here are getting what they want. Everyone has seen this core bring them 3 Stanley Cups so far in this era. You've gone to 4 Stanley Cups. This core has been to 5 Eastern Conference Finals, 16 straight playoff appearances. They really don't have too much more to accomplish. If the 3 players were to retire right now, it would have been such they would have accomplished, I think, basically everything that they've wanted to accomplish in the NHL, or close to it. I know Evgeni Malkin wants to be the only Russian-born player to win 4 Stanley Cups, so I think he'd definitely be missing that. I think Sid also wants to, just keep racking up stuff with points and goals, and I'm sure Gino wants to hit his 1,000th game. So there's at least some milestones that they would not have hit if they were to retire today, but I still think they would be mostly satisfied with what they do. I mean, Letang ranks number 1 or number 2 in the franchise history for basically every defensive stat. But, the fact that all 3 of these players are going to play for the franchise for at least 19 years, probably 20 years, that is amazing. And right as I am talking about that, my poor dog over here just started to snore like a freight train in Detroit. No clue what that is about. Bronny. All right. I think he finally stopped that. I have no clue what that was. It just came out of nowhere. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The fact that, they're going to all be, those 3 are going to be here for at least 19 years, if not 2 decades, it's amazing. I mean, we're all going to get to see the milestones. I mean, Gino's going to hit his 1,000th game next year. He's a little over 50 goals away from his 500th in his career. He's going to hit 1,200 points. I would say probably next year as well. Sidney Crosby, he has the chance, I think, to hit for, potentially 1,500 points in his career. He's going to continue to rise. Right now he's top 25 all time for the most points in NHL history. Chris Letang, he's going to continue to rise in the defensive rankings. And people, I know that to some people, that's not good enough. You got to win a championship every year, or, you got to keep winning, or it's just a failure. No, it's really not. I mean, this has been arguably the best team of the salary cap era. And I think when a lot of people say, like, oh my God, you're bringing these guys back, it's just first round exit after first round exit. It's just like these people can't see the forest from the trees. These are the casuals that just want to make moves for the sake of making moves. And when you ask them for replacements, they can't give you any because they don't watch any other team than the Penguins. And these people also probably tune into like 20 to 25 Penguins games a year. So, I had to throw that out there. This is great to see all the 3 brothers retire. And it's also great that they can still compete for a Stanley Cup, at least these next 2 to 3 years until Sid is ready to retire. Maybe he plays longer than that. Who knows? But, I think bringing Letang and Malkin back, it makes the fans happy, makes the organization happy, but it makes the most sense because, they want to continue competing for a cup. Again, people can say, enjoy not winning a cup, enjoy having all these first round, second round exits. Okay, maybe part of me will, because I get to watch 3 players that I grew up watching and that have made so many people happy retire with the team, the only team that they've ever known, because that is how it should be. A player like Evgeni Malkin should not have to play his final years with another team. A player like Sidney Crosby should not have to play his final years with another team. And I will say the same damn thing for Letang. Maybe it's a little weird for Fleury, but, he didn't accomplish nearly as much as these other 3 players have. So, it makes sense in that regard. And it makes a hell of a lot of sense when you look at the free agent market and you saw the other options that were out there. So I'm going to celebrate that all 3 are going to retire. They're going to make so many people, happy with so many more memorable moments, and they're going to continue to compete for the Stanley Cup. So, I'm glad Malkin was able to get done. Cooler heads prevailed. I think that was so massive. Evgeni Malkin, we all know he is very emotional on and off the ice. Whether it was Sid or someone else, I think it was Sid, according to Josh Yohe, called him, sat him down, like, hey, man, just chill out, calm down. Maybe they'll reach back out. Sure enough, according to Pierre LeBrun, the talks heated up at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. They went until 10 o'clock until they negotiated the deal, and, they finished it up. So, cooler heads to prevail. Sidney Crosby had a all-time assist on that one. I wouldn't. Is that an even strength assist? I'll probably say that's on the power play. Actually, no. I would say they were kind of killing a penalty there because it looked like Malkin was about to leave, and he was able to, score a shorthanded goal to get everyone all back, to normal. And they're able to kill the penalty, and it's back to 5-on-5. If that reference makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, just feel free to tell me. But I thought it did while I was talking about it. But the legend of Sid continues to grow. Malkin was able to calm down. Hextall and JP Barry were able to negotiate this, and I think it's a good deal for both sides. I do not care what this deal looks like 4 years from now. I don't. I'm just happy that at least three of the top 10 best players in the franchise this year are all going to go out together, and they're going to retire with at least 3 Stanley Cups. So just hope everyone, knows how spoiled you are if you root for this team. All right. So coming up in the next segment, we're going to get into the Jan Rutta signing, get my thoughts on that, look at some of the underlying numbers for him, also touch on which defenseman could be out the door, because right now there are 9 defensemen on one-way deals. But before I get to that, Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline.net is your continuous source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, I'm back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. Someone was sending me a tweet, and I thought it was the Johan Larsson thing, but it was just a Sidney Crosby meme about the Evgeni Malkin stuff. I am scared to death that they are going to just announce that signing. What is it, 10:30 at night right now, while I'm recording the show, like they had that news dump of Evgeni Malkin on Tuesday night. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Who knows? But today, so a deal out of left field, Jan Rutta signs a 3-year deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins, $2.75 million per. He is a right shot D, defensive defenseman. Doesn't bring a lot of offense. That's going to be for Mike Matheson and Chris Letang and maybe John Marino if he's still here on the team next year. But he's really good on the PK. And he's a good stay-at-home, defenseman. He played a lot of minutes last year with Victor Hedman. I think he was his most common partner last year, and he put up good numbers. On natural stat trick right now, played 76 games for the Lightning. When he was on the ice, they had 52% shot attempts, 60% of the actual goals, 54% of the scoring chances, 53% of the high danger chances, 54% of the high danger goals for. Yes, I understand he's playing with arguably the best defenseman on the planet. I get it. But, those are still pretty decent numbers. You look at Andy and Rono's stuff here, and I can't recommend them enough. They get percentiles from natural stat trick, Cordy Snatcher stuff. Offensively, he ranks in the 60th percentile, shot contribution 74th, scoring 62nd percentile, shooting 61st percentile. Defensively, though, play driving 65th percentile, penalty kill above 60%. That's very good. Transition wise, not the best. That's 36 overall. Had 18 points last year in 76 games, but I think this is still a very serviceable player. You look at, in Micah Blake McCurdy stuff, even strength offense, a lot of blue in the offensive zone, minus 5% when you look at, relative to league average, but defensively, it's minus 0.11 expected goals against per 60, a lot of blue there, which is what you want to see, especially in the front of the net. He's really good at getting, scores out of that area. And, I also think he can bring a little bit of a physical element, to the game. I was talking, with Jason of Penguins Twitter in my DMs today, and he said something that I think I've been thinking for a while. And some people may not like this take, but the Penguins, they need more size on their back end. I know some people don't want to hear that, but they do. And Jan Rutta will bring that. It's a big body. He can skate well, good at bringing the pucks out of the defensive zone, bringing the pucks into the offensive zone. Really good penalty killer, which is what they need. And he's someone who you can rely on, I would say 16 to 20 minutes a night. He played with Victor Hedman last year. He handled those minutes well. I think if you were to put him on a second pairing was maybe Mike Matheson, I think that's a pairing that could work. Matheson, he is obviously the total chaos player. He will do all the offensive work. Rutta, he can sit back, cover for him defensively and some other stuff. And, I think he will be a really good fit for Mike Sullivan's system. Obviously, I think an upgrade over Ruedel on the third pairing. I don't think Chad is going to be the one that's traded. I think he's going to stay in the lineup. I think at this point, it's going to be probably one of Pettersson or Marino that is moved. But Rutta, I do think he can play on the second pairing as well. Now, is it a downgrade? I would say if it is Letang, Rutta, then Ruedel on the right side over Letang, Marino, Ruedel there. Yeah, I would say that, especially if you do move Marino. But maybe Rutta can play on the left side a little bit if you do move out Pettersson. But this is going to be. I think it's going to be even harder now for someone also like POJ to make the team because there's 9D right now. Could they trade 2 defensemen? I think that is also on the table. Maybe Marino in a separate deal for JT Miller or something like that, or Connor Garland, and then Pettersson for draft picks. I could see that, and then you could roll a defense out of Dumoulin, Letang, Matheson, Rutta, and then maybe POJ and Chaparito. I don't think that that defensive core is bad. Is it maybe as good as it was last year? It's debatable. I think you can argue in either direction. I'd probably say maybe a little worse, but I think there's upside to it. But I definitely could see the Penguins doing that. I will say this though, I did not foresee them signing a defenseman today. I thought because POJ was signed on Tuesday for that 2-year deal, one-way contract, I thought, well, they got 8. He's graduated the NHL full time. They're just going to move someone, but now I could really see them moving 2 defensemen, when this is all said and done. So, and who could that be? The only way I'm comfortable moving on from Marino is if you're getting an impact forward back. If you're, if you're going to just dump him for futures that are, that people couldn't care less about, I'm not going to subscribe to that. You better be bringing back a nice top 9 forward, because I don't really know if this Johan Larsson contract is happening at this point. I mean, Elliot Friedman, he tweeted that it was happening late in the day, right when Ron Hextall was talking. And then I think it was Danny Shirey that asked him about him, and he just basically scoffed at it. It was either it was like, no, where'd that come from? Or it was like, wow, that leaked out a lot earlier than I thought it was going to. So I have no idea if that's happening at this point. But, I still think they need another forward. Right now, when you look at their roster, they have 11 capable NHL forwards. Getting an NHL forward back in the move for a defenseman has to be the play. I think, though, I'm going to lean that it's going to be Pettersson. I think it should be Dumoulin, but I think they're going to keep him. I think it is going to be Pettersson just because, I think teams, even though he has term left on his contract, you all saw that the deals that, were handed out today. Eric Goodbranson, 4x4 for Columbus, which is just ridiculous. Ben Sherratt gets 4x 4.5, and those two are definitely not good. You look at those deals and you look at what Jan Rutta signed for, makes that deal look that much better, at least for me. So, there will definitely be a taker out there for one of these defensemen, if not 2, for the Penguins. But, overall, my thoughts on Jan Rutta signing, again, brings some size, brings a physical element, good in his own zone, can penalty kill well, and someone who, I think definitely makes the team better. The term is fine. The AAV, totally fine. I think that's a really strong move by Ron Hextall. We'll have to see who's moved out. Again, I would love to get an impact forward back for one of those defensemen, not just some stupid futures that, I don't think anyone would care about at that point. Now, for our final segment, I will touch on the other moves that the Penguins made today, give my thoughts on those. Most of them were just depth signings as a whole. But before I get to that, you can save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why should you choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business and do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you can need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. You can go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. You can go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. And you can write Locked On in their How'd You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, right below prices, all the parts your car will ever need. That is rockauto.com. All right. Welcome back for the final segment of today's episode. I'm, of course, Hunter Hodes. So Penguins, they did make a couple other moves today. So Jake Caggiula, I shouldn't say one way, 1 year, 2-way contract. He is just basic depth in Wilkes-Barre. Probably would be one of the first call-ups, I think, when there will be Penguin injuries, because that is just a yearly thing. They're always one of the most injured teams in the league. So I think he's just basically an emergency call-up. I'm not really going to read too much into that one. Dustin Tokarski, third goaltender. That's an upgrade over Louis Domingue. And speaking of Louis Domingue, signs with the New York Rangers, puts a funny tweet out about spicy pork. So I always love when things come full circle like that. That's just their number 3 goaltender. The Rangers have Halak backing up Shesterkin next year. But as for Tokarski, put up solid numbers at times in Buffalo last year. I'm going to pull up just the official numbers right now. Yes, I for some reason I did not have those, but 29 games last year, 10, 12, and 5. I mean, at the end of the day, his save percentage was around 900, but he's playing on a bad Buffalo team. But the year before that, played 13 games for the Sabres, 904 save percentage. Typical third string goaltender numbers. I saw a tweet today from a couple people saying, I don't even have to look up if he's better than Louis Domingue. And, sure enough, I don't really need to either. I know that he would be a better option for a playoff series instead of Louis Domingue. And I'll go ahead and say this: if he's starting for the Penguins against the Rangers, I think they win that series. That's just how bad Louis Domingue is. But he'll get the start probably down in Wilkes-Barre. I mean, I know it's a one-way deal, but he can be sent down to Wilkes-Barre. And again, that's probably where he's going to be. They're not going to keep 3 NHL goaltenders up. I think the tandem down there is going to be him and Philip Lindbergh when healthy. I know Alex D'Orio. Alex D'Orio, he's a UFA. So excuse me on that. But I believe it's going to be Philip Lindbergh and Dustin Tokarski down in Wilkes-Barre. So, that's fine. The Josh Archibald one, I got to say, I don't really understand that. 1 year, 1-way deal for $900K, played 8 games last year. He's just not a good player. When you look at Evolving Wilds stuff here, if I can scroll down, find on my Twitter page. Yeah, overall ranks in the 12th percentile for them, 23rd percentile in offense, 25th percentile for defense. Just a really, he's 29 at this point. I mean, sure, is he probably, maybe someone that can go down in Wilkes-Barre and play down there? Yeah. Is he going to be maybe a 14 forward, 13 forward? Yeah. I don't think he's going to be playing on an every night basis for this team next year. I think, he's maybe like someone like a Brian Boyle who can play a few games for you, but he's just not a good player. And, off the ice, for those that don't know, how do I want to say this right? Let's just say for a while last year, he was against, during when the pandemic was, at the height, when it was really, really bad, he was against the what. I'm not going to go on to this podcast and tell everyone what they need to do, but, he was against, I think everyone will know what I'm talking about. So, it's just a weird signing all around. I don't know, especially on like day one of free agency, like, do you really need to go out and sign that player? You could probably get that guy on the PTO. Eric Stahl is going on a PTO down to Florida, but this guy is getting a 1 year, $900K contract. Explain it to me like I am 5, please. Like, I don't get it. At the end of the day, whatever. He's probably not going to play more than 20 games next year, if that. Again, in a perfect world, he's down in Wilkes-Barre, or he's just, in the press box every night collecting that that game check. And then, Xavier Ouellet, that's a 1 year, 2-way deal. That's probably the Juuso Riikola replacement down there. So definitely some weird depth moves, but, a couple ones that I do get, with Dustin Tokarski being the third goaltender. Again, the Archibald one, well, whatever. I don't think the Penguins are done this offseason. That Heinen and Rodriguez still out there as free agents. I could see maybe the Penguins circling back to Heinen. Again, they are 1 forward short right now. They have 11 forwards signed. Josh Archibald better not be in their plans for next year. And, Pittsburgh captain, Ron Hextall spoke today. It sounds like they are potentially going to work out a contract for him, which is, I'll say this. I disagree with bringing him back. I don't think he's any good. Maybe he'll surprise me next year. I know he was better away from the puck, but, I think they should try to find a fresh start for him. I don't see it. But I guess for some reason the front office and the coaching staff have a better satisfaction for him than I do. And I think a lot of the fan base does. And, maybe they'll make me eat crow on that, to say the least. But, again, I don't think this team is done. I think they have at least another move or two in them coming over the next month. I would say a trade is probably likely to happen. Looking at the date here, probably before the end of the month, if I had to guess. So that wraps up today's episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I really appreciate all of you listening to this one. I'll have another episode for you all on Thursday, then Friday, then again next week will be the final week of 5 episodes a week before we go into full off-season mode with only 3 episodes a week for you all on various topics regarding this team. So the roster is almost set for next year, bearing a very likely trade of a defenseman for a forward or something like that. So, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about the roster going into next year? Who do you want the Penguins? Which defenseman do you want the Penguins trade? Leave me a comment on the YouTube page. You can DM me on social media, all that stuff. We'll talk about it. And, I think it's still an exciting time to be a Penguins fan. And, again, I'll say it for the fifth time in probably the last 2 minutes. I do not think Ron Hextall is done, to say the least. So, again, thank you all so much for listening. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk with you all on Thursday.